KiSS.
Dude, no one will see this kiss if I kiss you.
No, but pictures.
So I'm going to kiss this first. I gave her a little tongue action. I'll just kiss you like that.
Oh, did anyone get that?
Donnie Wahlberg, I saw that you were on your private plane flying to Toronto for a burger. How awesome is it that you could literally just get on a plane, fly to Toronto, and have one of the best burgers?
Well, it's pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. But it's more than that, you know. I get to see you.
Yes.
I get to see all the employees and friends we have up here, and so many New Kids on the Block fans here. I mean, it's just like a family reunion. It really is. It's not just flying for a hamburger. It's flying to my second home. That's how I feel.
We have to talk about Making a Murderer. I have watched all 10 episodes. It was really absolutely amazing. And now when you Google about the show, your name comes up. You're part of the story, more or less, because you got so involved. Why did you get so involved with the show?
I didn't. I got involved like everyone else. I watched it, found myself arguing, debating, obsessed like everyone else. But I found myself being one of the only people thinking that Stephen Avery was probably guilty.
And that's my thing to you, is they didn't find any blood in the bedroom. There were no marks on the bed. There was no evidence in the bedroom, and they found the key like 3 days later. So how can that be guilty?
Okay. It's too long of a conversation to get into all the specific evidence. So what I would say is this. I don't know to a certainty that he's guilty. I think he's guilty. I think most people watch it and they just adopt the narrative of the show, Making a Murderer. And when you watch in 10 minutes, you realize, okay, this is about the cops making this guy into a murderer by framing him. Yes, there are moments that are kind of like, whoa. But almost everything has a counterpoint. You know, if you want to pick particular evidence, one of the most compelling moments in the whole show is the blood vial that had a hole in it. How do you get the blood into the vial?
I guess they took blood from him when he was originally in jail.
How do you get the blood into the vial? Have you ever given blood or had blood drawn? They put a syringe in you. The tube is in the blood tube goes into the vial through that purple tip. That's how the hole is always there. The hole they don't put a lid on after and then someone poked a hole in it. That hole was there before they even opened it. No one knows it except nurses. Now that looks damning, but that blood didn't have EDTA in it. The FBI had no reason to take the side of the sheriffs in Manitowoc County. Why would they take their side? You know, this is an FBI agent from Virginia who has no horse in this race. And if he did, it'd probably be to catch the cops. Cops and feds typically don't get along. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is there was no evidence to counter that. Nobody spoke up and said, of course there's a hole in the tube. There would always be a hole in it. That's how the blood gets in there in the first place. You know, so just at one point, and my point isn't that he's guilty. My argument isn't, hey, this guy's guilty, they're both guilty, damn them all to hell. I think Stephen Avery's guilty. The evidence to me says he's guilty. You know, the bones are in the fire. People say, well, why are the bones scattered about? Someone planted them. Well, who's more likely to make a mess of the bones? Cops who are framing someone or a guy who's not that intelligent? You know, the viewers like to pick and choose when Stephen Avery's intelligent and when he's not. You know, it's convenient. He's too smart to have, you know, committed a crime when he was going to get $36 million. Okay, but why would those two cops frame him and ruin their careers and risk going to jail themselves and life in prison for murder themselves if they killed this woman? Why would they risk that? When they weren't being sued, they weren't going to pay a penny in a lawsuit. All they did was get deposed. But if you put their film in a deposition with striking violin music, it looks like they're bad guys.
Do you feel that the show left out a lot of stuff that they should have put in?
Of course it did. It left out, you know, they play a part of Brendan Dassey's phone call to his mom where he's saying, I did do some of those things to that woman. And he also, in that same phone call, which you don't see on TV, talks about Stephen Avery molesting him. I mean, who is this guy that everyone's rushing to free from prison, Stephen Avery? I mean, he murdered a cat in a fire, which is a precursor to more heinous crimes as an adult. You know, and I get it. Look, it looks bad in the show, but everything is made to look worse than it is, and there's no rebuttal. Then that's the problem. My point is not he's guilty or he's innocent. I think he's guilty. I don't know. I wasn't there. You know, the jurors know more than any of us. My point is, if you rush to judgment that he was framed because of a TV show that only shows you half the evidence, then you are rushing to judgment. And you can't assume all these things. The jury was pressured and blah, 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 without assuming that the cops didn't do any bad stuff. If you have an open mind about Avery, you have to have an open mind about all of it.
So your simple answer to this question would be, is the right person in jail?
I believe Stephen Avery is guilty, based on what I've seen and heard. I believe Brendan Dassey is probably guilty as well, but I think he is a victim of his uncle. I think his uncle is probably a murderer, and I think he brought his nephew over there and he shouldn't have. Nobody protected that kid. Even if he was a criminal has a rights for lawyers to properly represent him. They say the cops did the wrong thing. The cops didn't do the wrong thing. Their job is to interrogate and get the story they need to convict the bad guy. His lawyer should have been there. His mom should have been there. What mom says, no, I'll wait outside. You're right. Or the cops pressure me. You say, God damn it, no, I'm going in there with my son. No one protected that kid. And Stephen Avery, if you want to sympathize with him, where in that show, if talking about omitting stuff, where in that show does he show 1 ounce of compassion for his nephew? And all the calls home, it's me, 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 me. Oh, woe is me. He's a martyr. And he never showed an ounce of compassion for his nephew. If my nephew were in jail, whether he ratted me out or not, and he was going to spend the rest of his life at 16 in prison, my heart would be crushed. And I would have so much compassion for that kid. And maybe Stephen did, and maybe the producers didn't show that either.
Before we get wrapped up, I do want to ask you this. The Oscar nominations came out not too long ago, and the hashtag #OscarsIsWhite came out again. Do you feel that we need more diversity in the Oscar running and for award shows?
Well, I don't think anyone set out to not, it's not like one person's doing the nominating. It's not like Donald Trump said, I'm picking everyone but Muslims to be nominated. It's a big, huge committee, many of whom are African American. So, me personally, I'm confused why Straight Outta Compton wasn't nominated, because it was great. And I don't know why Sam Jackson wasn't nominated. Anytime he's in a Quentin Tarantino movie, he should just get nominated, because they are magic. They're poetry together. Do I think there's any unfair stuff going on? No. I don't. I don't think, that was the case this year. I just think there were snubs, and there's always snubs. And sometimes it's white people, sometimes it's black people, sometimes it's Latinos, sometimes it's Canadians. People always get snubbed. But I think, I just don't think all the best nominees were nominated. And I don't think it's a matter of they were not nominated because of color. I think maybe enough of the voters didn't see those things, and that could be a matter of color. I don't know.
KiSS.